you're 62 years old and you've got a lot of questions about retirement, but specifically Social Security. And so what we're going to look at today is what you need to know about Social Security now that you're eligible for benefits. Hello, my name is John Vandergriff. I'm one of the owners and the wealth planning team lead here at Blue Ridge Wealth Planners, where we help people with retirement planning, and that will include very specific questions like the one we're looking at today, which is, as a 62-year-old, what are the things that I need to start considering when it comes to Social Security and making that filing decision? So the first thing we want to start with is obviously who is eligible to receive Social Security benefits, because just because you reach the age of 62 does not mean that you qualify. So we're going to look at the 4 situations where you would be eligible for benefits in some variety, and then walk through all the things that you need to think about. So the first is you qualify for Social Security once you have paid into Social Security taxes for at least 40 quarters of work. Now, those don't have to be consecutive. It's over your entire work history, but as long as you've paid in 40 quarters of work, you are eligible for a Social Security benefit. Now, the size of that benefit is going to be dependent on your salaries, adjusted for inflation, how many years you've worked. They take into consideration your top 35 earning years in Social Security. So if you don't have 35, you will have some zeros. So any kind of work, part-time, that pays into it is going to give you credit more than a zero will. So this is the first way that you qualify or are eligible to receive benefits. The second is if you have been married to someone who has qualified for benefits at least 1 year, you will be eligible for what are called spousal benefits. That would be something where you would not necessarily have to pay in 40 quarters, but you could still get some percentage of your spouse's benefit. It doesn't reduce their benefit at all. This actually allows you to get more Social Security for the family as a whole if you were not eligible for those Social Security benefits on your own record. Now, third, you are married to someone eligible for benefits for at least 10 years. So let's say you're separated, divorced. As long as you were married for 10 years, you are eligible for benefits off of that earning record. You say, well, what happens if I get married again? If you get married again before the age of 60, your benefits are going to be based on your current spouse as long as you've been married for at least a year. If you get remarried after 60, you actually get to pick which spouse you take benefits from, which is a little wrinkle. Again, look and get those numbers from Social Security so that it can help you make a decision. And then the last one here is if your spouse passes and you're at least at the age of 60, which we're talking about at 62, you would be eligible for some type of benefit off of their record. That's what we call a survivor benefit. And then you've got to compare, do we take a survivor benefit or do we let our benefit grow so that we can continue to receive benefits, maybe at a higher amount later than what we would receive at a survivor. You do not have to start whenever your spouse passes. You could wait until your full retirement age and get the highest amount of survivor benefit possible in that scenario. So these are the 4 situations where you're eligible. If you're any one of these 4, you have a decision that you can make depending on, with this one, and I guess with this one, you really have to depend on the spouse already filing before you're eligible. So that's something to add there. So the question that we get often is, should I file for benefits now or should I wait? And one of the things that's important to consider and understand is the way that Social Security views Social Security. Because everything that they look at is based on you making a decision with what is called full retirement age, which in this example is age 66. If you're 62 years old today, your full retirement age is actually 67. I'm going to show you a chart in a second that will show you how that's established. But if you were born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. And then this allows you to see kind of what happens if you file early versus what happens if you file after that. So again, since Social Security views on-time filing as on the day or the month that you turn full retirement age, any decision that's made before that is an early filing for benefits. So that's why you see this as a reduced percentage of what your Social Security would be at full retirement age. And then if you file after full retirement, that's a delayed filing strategy, which, as you see here, is an 8% simple increase from what your full retirement age benefit would be. So again, as you look at this, this shows, a 75% reduction in those benefits at age 62, or a 32% increase in those benefits at age 70. And then again, we show some estimates of numbers here. Obviously, cost of living adjustments, you can make anything you want to and make those numbers drastically different. So this is something to consider in your own filing strategy because, again, the longer you wait, the bigger that benefit check is going to be. The other factor you have to consider is that the less time you're going to have to take checks because we don't know when our expiration date is. And so we've got to make the best decision that we can, knowing all the things that we need to know. So this is one of those very important things that we need to consider. The other thing that we need to look at is when is my particular full retirement age and how does that impact spousal benefits? So again, this is a chart that shows everyone's full retirement age. So if you're over 62 and you're wanting to find yours, this is the chart that shows that. I pulled this from Social Security, but since we're talking to 62-year-olds in 2024, that would be birth year of 1962, which means your decision is going to be based on a full retirement benefit of 67. And so that is 60 months prior to full retirement that you turn 62, 5 years. And so what that means is if you file for benefits at 62, you're going to get a 30% reduction in what your benefit amount would be at full retirement age. So again, this is assuming that if your benefit at full retirement was $1,000, just for round numbers, you would be eligible for a $700 Social Security benefit at age 62. And like we showed on the previous chart, that would increase every month that you wait between 62 and your full retirement age because it would be less of a penalty in the way that it's viewed. Now, we also have an impact here when it comes to our spousal benefits. So let me pull this over just so it's showing up a little clearer. So spousal benefits are established off of the full retirement age amount. And if you file earlier, it will also be a reduction in what you would be eligible for. So again, the kind of base understanding of spousal benefits is if you filed at full retirement age and you filed at full retirement age as a spousal benefit, you will get exactly half of what that full retirement benefit will be. But similar to your own filing decision, if you file earlier than full retirement age, it's going to be a reduction in that 50% depending on the time in which you file. So what they're showing is if your full retirement age is 67, you have a spouse that files for spousal benefits at age 62, basically they're going to get a 35% reduction in that 50% amount. So as we look here, it would have been $500 if they waited till full retirement age, but because they filed early, they get $325, which again, I know these numbers are low, yours may be 4 times this, but this just helps us understand the math and somewhat the method to the madness when it comes to some of these Social Security decisions. So as we look at this, it's important to understand when our full retirement age is, what the impacts of filing not on full retirement age will be, but then we also need to consider something very important, and that is how much can I earn while I take Social Security? And so this is going to apply to wage income, not pension income, not retirement withdrawals. This is earned income that is taxable by Social Security. And so as we look at this, for your full retirement year until your full retirement age, so I'll say, from 62 until full retirement, this is the income limitation. I gave you the previous years just in case you thought it was 18, but now in 2024 it is $22,320. If you go above this threshold, every $2 that you make above that reduces your Social Security check by $1. So again, if you're working full time and you're making a sizable income, you file for Social Security, you may not get much, if anything, from that Social Security benefit. Now, you do get this money back at your full retirement age. So if you did continue to work, you were worried that you were eat up with cancer and you wanted to make sure that somebody was able to get these checks, you could do this strategy. You won't see a meaningful benefit from it, but it's important to understand that you can't do this double dipping strategy that a lot of people talk about where, hey, I'm going to work full time. I'm going to get paid $20,000 a year from Social Security and invest that money to kind of supercharge my retirement savings. Social Security doesn't allow that because they're going to look at the earned income that you have. And even in the full retirement year, so this is assuming that you are working full time and not retiring, because if you retire at your full retirement age and then file for benefits, they won't apply this penalty to you. But again, in 2024, you can make $59,520 for that full retirement year, continue to work and receive benefits if you file at your full retirement age or after. So again, let's say you turned full retirement age in December, you started in January, you can make as much money anytime after that as you want to and earn income, and it's not going to reduce your check if you file after your full retirement age, and it's not, earlier in that full retirement year, because you got to think about, this penalty if you do file for benefits in January and your birthday's in April. So again, we need to understand the impacts of earned income on this as well. But the best advice that I can give when it comes to Social Security is not to go out, search the internet, find some calculator that only uses your benefits and basically tells you that the break-even point's between 80 and 81. That may be true from a math perspective, but you need to be looking at more than just your Social Security benefit when you're making that decision. And so, again, what are the things we're talking about? What does your health look like? What is your age? What is your spouse's age? What is their potential benefit that they could or could not receive if you delay or file early? But also, the thing that we look at from a planning perspective is we need to make sure whatever decision we make, whether it's an early filing, late, or somewhere in the middle, our investments are positioned properly to support that, because you don't want to make a decision and then not consult or include your investments in that conversation. You want to make that decision where it's a supportive thing for both sides of this. So let me give you just a very simple example of why this matters, because let's say you're one of these people where you want to file for benefits as late as possible so that you can get the biggest check amount, which is fine. You need to make sure that you may have an overweighting of your money in more of a protected position so that you can afford to take out the income that it's going to take to carry you from full or 62 to 70 or whenever you retire, because that's probably going to be a larger percentage withdrawal than it will be once you file for Social Security benefits. So you want to make sure you're not taking a risk on that, especially if it's 5 years or less time, because you may not have enough time for the market to recover. And the last thing we want to do is take our lifestyle needs out of a risky bucket. We would rather take it out of a safe investment strategy. So that's one thing that we look at. The other is, if we're in a position where, let's say you don't like the direction that Social Security is going, you're worried that it's not going to be there, the day you hit 62, you want to file for benefits. That's good. You want to make sure that you have everything that you need to support your lifestyle and protection, but you may want to be aware that it may make sense to have some of your money in a more growth-oriented position to help you cover inflation, because that 62 check is smaller than any check that you would have had after that, and you may need to account for cost of living adjustments above what Social Security provides from your investment portfolio, and giving yourself long-term growth potential may be the way that you solve that problem. So, and as we look at this, the caveat for the middle here is, as we look at filing for Social Security, the one thing that we cannot get Social Security to do is pay those benefits faster to us. So as we look at this, it always makes sense to make sure that you have ample liquid money or access, because again, let's say your strategy is to delay benefits as long as possible. You spend through all of the liquid money that you have. Social Security is paying you a bigger check, but you can't make them pay you 6 months ahead and then you get that reimbursed. You need to make sure that you have liquid access for the emergencies that you may have, large purchases, unexpected expenses. It's always wise to have a pretty good amount, if not a large amount of money in liquid assets in this phase of life and retirement. So there's really benefits to all three of these, but depending on that Social Security decision that you make, it will determine, and with other factors, how much weighting needs to go in all three of these categories. All right, and again, that's the things we need to consider from an investment perspective. As we look at the decision with filing for Social Security, you really need to look at all 5 of these areas that are involved in a complete retirement plan so that you can walk through those, understand the impacts of this filing decision to see if now is the best time or if it makes sense to file later. And so if no one's really ever talked you through starting with goals and objectives that you have and then seeing how that affects the planning that needs to happen in all 5 of these areas, we would love to sit down with you and take you through this conversation the way that we have with our client families here, other people much like yourselves that have contacted us through the YouTube channel. And so you're going to see a link below this video where you can get on our calendar. I would encourage you to do that if you're trying to make this decision with Social Security, because there's a lot of factors that you need to consider. And unfortunately, Social Security is not allowed to give you advice on when to file. That's either a decision that you have to make, or you have to consult with someone who works with people in retirement that's going to help you make that call. So as we look at this, that's something that we help a lot of families with. We'd love to sit down and see if there's a chance for us to help you. So hopefully this was valuable and you learned a lot today. Leave some comments and questions below on this video to let us know, what maybe areas were we missing, what things need a little bit more clarity. And we look forward to sharing more content like this with you in the future.